Saruhan Hatipoglu is the CEO of Beri Consulting, a private firm providing international business analysis to countries and businesses, of course, around the world. Thank you very much. Welcome back to Biz Asia America. You know, our week-long series about graduation, there's been a lot of discussion. I mean, I guess ultimately what people want to hear is, you know, what degree should they get and what would make them happy and what would make them, I guess, the most money. But there's an interesting thing here because we talk about getting degrees and getting educated, but there has to be the jobs out there. As you look around the world, what's more challenging? Is it getting them educated or is it getting them positions available?
Absolutely the latter nowadays. And it doesn't matter what you're studying either, Phil. ILO came up with a report not too long ago, and you're seeing youth unemployment increasing everywhere. It's not only in Europe, but what is interesting is Europe is number 3 in terms of growth in youth unemployment, behind Middle East, which is about 28%, and North Africa, which is about 24%, and then comes a developed area, the Eurozone, by 18 to 20%. So that's of huge concern for policymakers there.
Is it there are no jobs, or is it they don't want to work?
It is not that they don't want to work. Actually, we've done a little study at Beri about this. Youth in the Eurozone, especially the peripheral areas, they're accepting jobs, and they're underground because they can't report it. There are certain labor laws that they have to adhere to.
They're working, but not real
they're working,
official
but they're
jobs.
not reporting. So the numbers are not as high as we're hearing they are, even though they are high. But yes, because of the labor laws, they're very restrictive, as you know. So they're avoiding that because companies are not hiring young people in this economy.
Okay, so let's pretend we're 22 years old. It's fun to do that.
Let's go back to those days.
We live in Europe. We've just graduated with a degree. What are we going to do?
Well, you know, and I'm assuming we're in the same economy as today, right? All downturn and recession. I would lobby, I'd gather my friends. We're seeing that in a lot of countries, actually, and ask for certain policy changes because labor protection laws are extremely rigid in Europe. If they change that, and there's a lot of pressure right now coming from the youth, then things will change a little bit. But European countries actually are taking good measures too. There's something called Youth Opportunities Initiative that's taking place. There's a meeting in July 3, I think, about this. So they're doing something, but they're not doing the fundamental thing that they need to do.
Tell me if
labor law modifications.
I'm on the right track. A lot of people have been very critical about the labor laws in Europe. And essentially, for our international audience, the laws are strict that you can't hire and you can't really fire. I guess you can hire people. It's hard to fire people.
Correct.
And that makes companies nervous about hiring people because you don't want to hire people that you can't fire later. I mean, is this ultimately the issue? Is that they need to be able to fire people more easily?
Exactly.
I hate to put it that way, but
it is true, but it has to be relaxed. Look what happens with temporary contracts in Europe. European countries decided in the 80s, when things were taking a worse, it's a bad downturn, they said, okay, you know what, we're going to relax labor laws for temporary contracts only, but keep it for the permanent jobs. So all the young people got into temporary contracts, they got temporary jobs, and what happened? The next downturn, they're the first ones to go.
You know what a lot of people worry about a lot, and I think about this as well, as you look what's happening in Turkey, you look what's happening in a lot of places where you see the rioting. A lot of the folks out there on the street are part of the young generation.
Right.
And over a period of a couple years, they begin to have sort of psychological negativity that they look at the global community and they feel like, hey, you know what? The big banks are against us, government's against us, we have nothing to live for, let's riot and let's burn these buildings down. Is there a risk that if they don't start creating jobs soon, and I mean fast, that this generation is going to be permanently discontented?
Well, some are calling this generation in Europe lost generation, like the U.S. generation of 1930 to 1933. It's not good. But what they're doing is correct. They need to rise up and they need to say, look, things need to change. It's happening in Turkey. It's not economics, though, what's happening in Turkey, because the economy has been doing very well in that country. It is about censorship of the media. It's about restriction of personal freedoms. Young people are rising up. They have energy. They have the power to make the change. I think we're going to see that in Europe already with Youth Growth Initiative. This is taking place. And in Turkey, too, we'll probably see some positive results, and the government will need to take that seriously.
All right. We could probably go on and on about this.
We certainly can.
Saruhan Hatipoglu, CEO of Beri Consulting, thank you very much for joining us on Biz Asia America.